Tonight we have two PSRs from the LAPD Communications Division. Those are police service representatives. Communications Division is the first responders. These are the people that answer the phones when you call 911. They're the people that answer the phones when you call non-emergency dispatch, and they're the ones that are dispatching the officers. Again, I can't tell you how tough their job is, how tough it is to get, how tough it is to do. They're multitasking all the time, and they have to be proficient at a number of different positions when they work there. I'm going to turn it over to you guys because you can explain your job much better.
Thank you so much, Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. And thank you, Barbara, for making this happen. We really appreciate it. We hope we see you back. It's never too late. We always want to, we'd love to have you back. But thank you so much. So my name is PSR2 Jackie Letta. I've been with the department now 6 years. And my partner, Brandy Holly, has been in the department 17 years. So I hope I keep smiling the way she's smiling in a few years from now. Very positive, so I love it. We're both PSRs, so police service representatives, which means 911 dispatchers for LAPD. However, we're currently with the community relations unit, and part of our job entails going out to the community, either virtual webinars or different elementary schools, whatever way we could do any type of outreach to educate the public on the importance of calling 911, when should you call versus not, and the different resources we have for the city. So we're looking forward to presenting to you guys, giving you a brief glimpse of what we do and the things that should be covered, where we're excited to share this information with all of you. There's both of us listed there. Our captain for communications, we have a sworn officer, and that's our Captain 3, Alejandro Vargas, who couldn't join us today. A little bit more going into detail as to what we do. Just give you an introduction in terms of we're not officers. There's always a misconception because some of the stations, especially like the sheriff's office, they sometimes have officers answering the phones. LAPD is very different. We're all civilians. We're still part of the department, but we are civilians. And we use a lot of acronyms. So part of that acronym is we call ourselves PSRs, but it stands for Police Service Representative, better known as a 911 operator. Every day that we come into work, this is what our desk looks like. It's not assigned to us. We sit in a different part of the center every day. We do have 2 dispatch centers, and this is what it looks like. So we have 6 giant screens in front of us every day. We have our mapping screen. We have our Power 911 screen, which is where we answer calls and conference to the fire department, highway patrol, other city entities. We have our screen 3, which is our unit status display. We're able to see what all the different units, police units are doing throughout the city, if they're on a traffic stop or they're in pursuit, what type of call they're handling, how long have they been there. We have our screen 4, which is our premier one's CAD screen. This is where we physically create a call. We're entering our comments and speaking to the officers. Our screen 5s are radio channels. We have multiple radio channels, and depending who we want to speak to, that's a radio frequency that we pick up. And our screen 6 is our text to 911 and internet screen. So I'm sure that a lot of people lately we've encountered do not know that you could text to 911, and that's something that we're going to cover a little bit further in the presentation. So yes, this is very different than what you've probably seen on TV or seen on the fancy movies. I wish it looked a little bit more like that, but you know what? This is our desk, and we enjoy it every day that we do it. Every day is a little different. And that being said, as a police service representative or as a dispatcher, we tend to cover different areas of LAPD. So there's always a misconception, once again, that we're just focusing on a small area. You don't understand how many times we get calls to people saying, well, I'm right here. Well, where are you? I'm in Figueroa. That street crosses through so many different divisions, so many different miles across Los Angeles City, Olympic, same thing. They give us an address, 6th Street. You could either be in Los Angeles or you could be in the Venice area. So just to kind of give you an idea how large LAPD is. LAPD is the 3rd largest department in the nation. We go all the way from the south area, which is San Pedro, all the way to Mission Hills, East Los Angeles to the West LA area. And there's some little gaps in between, like West Hollywood, where we don't cover, that's not our jurisdiction. So the city of Los Angeles has an approximate population of 4 million people, and we cover about 470 square miles. Just to kind of get an idea what the LAPD covers, as you can see, our West Valley area is only a tiny portion of Valley Bureau. So when you call, once again, 911, we know, we're pretty much aware they could be anywhere in these different bureaus or different stations. Some facts and statistics for us. How many calls do our operators take on average? In 2020, we took approximately 4.5 million calls. That's approximately an average of 10,000 calls per day and about 416 calls per hour. So that's definitely a lot of calls. 2.5 million of those calls were generated or taken on our 911 lines. As you know, LAPD, we have our 911 line, and we also have our non-emergency line, which is our 877 Ask LAPD. And once again, we'll cover what's the difference between one number and the other. West Valley, in terms of West Valley service calls, just so you could kind of get an idea, for August of 2021, we got 5,802 calls. September 2021, 5,562. In October 2021, 5,863. These service calls include calls that were generated for service in terms of somebody calling, officer-initiated traffic stops, station calls, or citizen calls. So you can imagine West Valley is a very active area as well. And it's both a good and a bad thing. So it doesn't mean that we're just having a lot of crime. It also means that our officers are really active out there, generating traffic stops. If they get flagged down by a citizen, that would also generate a call. Now, getting a little bit more into detail. So what happens when you call 911? Once again, LAPD, in terms of dispatch, we don't do medical. We conference with the fire department. We actually don't take the, we don't give medical advice. So we conference with the fire department. So when you dial 911, a police dispatcher is going to answer. That would be someone like myself or my partner, Brandy. 911 operator 218, what is your emergency, right? So this happens. Based on the emergency you have, we're either going to conference with the fire department if medical attention is needed. The 911 operator will dispatch police, or we are going to transfer you to the call to the non-emergency number. So if we do transfer you to the fire department is going to re-ask you your address and phone number and overview medical questions over the phone with you. And at that point, you would have an ambulance or the fire department in general respond to you. As a 911 operator, we stay on the line to assess the situation. For example, if it's something like a heart attack, that's something that is not a police matter. So as soon as I know the fire department has your address and phone number, I disconnect the line. If it's something that involves the police, then it might be crime. Let's say, for example, anything like severe, like a shooting, a stabbing, domestic violence, anything that involves like in that matter, both the fire department and ourselves would respond. If a 911 operator answers and it's strictly a police matter that's an emergency, we would dispatch an officer. However, if you call 911, it's a non-emergency matter, we are going to transfer you to the non-emergency number. So maybe that's at one point, I know a lot of people get frustrated, but they call and they get transferred and they're giving us, whatever emergency they think they have. But as a 911 operator, we're taught to ask you several questions, kind of screen your call. And if we feel that it's a non-emergency number, we're going to transfer to our non-emergency number. And at that point, the non-emergency operator is either going to send an officer out, or they're going to transfer you to other city entities, such as parking enforcement, animal regulations, or station for a telephonic report. For example, if you call because your neighbor's car was left blocking your driveway, you call 911 for that. That's a non-emergency. I'm going to transfer you to non-emergency. Non-emergency operator will transfer you to parking enforcement. So what could we do to avoid these matters? Either call the non-emergency phone number directly or call the other city entity. And it all plays into being aware of our resources. Okay, we're going to go ahead and have Brandy explain a little bit about what exactly constitutes an emergency and a non-emergency.
So what constitutes a 911 emergency? You will call 911 for preservation of life. And an example of that would be if somebody were to break into your home and you're inside the location. Okay, that's something where we want to send the officers lights and sirens. The next type of crime would be a serious crime in progress. So just to move with the burglary in progress, if let's say you're not in your home and it's a crime against a property, that would be considered a serious crime in progress. You will call 911 for that. And a prevention of a serious crime is the next reason you will call 911. But again, this is based on we don't want the public to necessarily have to figure that out. So if you have any suspicion that it could be an emergency, we want you to call us on 911. However, just keep in mind that during that interview process, as we're assessing it, you may get transferred to 912 in the event that during the interview we've determined that the person is more of a trespass suspect than a burglary suspect that's approached your neighbor's home, for example. A lot of times people call in with someone's at my neighbor's house and they're not familiar with this person. They seem to be looking around the residence. And from there, with those types of calls, it could kind of go either way based on what it is that questions that we receive are questions that we ask rather. So on our non-emergency line, um, this is our phone number to call. It's 1-877 ask LAPD or the 275 top 5273. And an example of a non-emergency call would be loud music, nonviolent disputes. Popular ones are business disputes. So people will go to an auto shop. They don't like their body work or whatever that was done. This is a non-emergency matter. Okay, now these things can change, of course, because someone can pull out a weapon, someone can start physically fighting. But a lot of times, what I like to clarify is there's a difference between a lot of times citizens call in and use the word violent when it's a verbal matter. Okay, so violent does not having an argument with someone is not a violent action. It becomes violent when it becomes physical. Okay, just in terms of how the police and how we look at it. Okay, if there's a weapon involved, and even if a weapon is there, okay, and there's a discussion or an argument taking place, then that's something that that we need to know and that we're going to respond more urgently for. But as long as it's verbal, we don't consider it a violent act. But we will send somebody out there to keep the peace if the parties involved are unable to do so for themselves. Another example is investigations, burglary investigations, and or vandalism investigations is a popular one, or maybe a crime occurred and someone ended up at the hospital and didn't call us. We'll send an officer to the hospital for those types of things. And then fireworks is popular. It's actually been happening throughout the entire city since COVID has happened, but that would be a non-emergency. And we even have the city has a line on the 311, I believe, where you can report fireworks as well there as to not overwhelm the police department too much. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, and also we have a language bank. Okay, we have a third-party contractor for languages that includes Spanish and literally all other languages that you can imagine. So with our staff here, we do have a dedicated Spanish line that the city has for PSRs that speak both English and Spanish. So for our Spanish-speaking citizens, they can always call in and get a Spanish operator. So whatever your primary language is, please just when you speak with the operator, provide that language, and we'll get someone on the line as quickly as possible so that we can assist you and figure out what you need. Okay. All right, so when you're calling 911, there is specific information that we're looking for. We want to know where you are, and you are our eyes and ears. We don't see what you see, and a lot of us, we don't live in the same neighborhood, so we're just not aware. And so when we ask questions, it's for a reason. It's not to get you upset or to, a lot of times people wonder, well, why are we asking these questions? It's just so that we can provide very specific information to our officers while they're en route to the call and also once they arrive. So those things that we're looking for our citizens to just be aware of also in general is where your location, what's your address, and when you provide your address, you do not need to provide the cross street person. You just need to provide the direct address. If you're going to give us cross streets, give us the 2 cross streets. Provide your phone number, a business name, anything that's what do you call them? Landmarks such as a restaurant or store. If you see a Ross or a Starbucks, when we're arriving at an apartment building, et cetera, if there's an access code. The additional information that we're going to ask in regards to the matter that you're calling on is who's the person that we're going to be looking for, their gender, their race, their hair and eye color, height, weight. Their clothing description is important as well. If they have any weapons, if that person has been diagnosed with any type of mental illness, that is also important for our officers to know. And please, when we're discussing weapons, please be sure 100% if you are going to say that a person has a weapon, that you in fact saw one. If you did not see one, it's okay to say that. Or if you didn't see one, then you didn't see it. But if you're unsure, let us know that you're also unsure and what type of weapon you may have thought that you have seen. But those things, our officers have, we prepare for these types of things. So just keep in mind of that, and that'll definitely help us in arriving to the location. And we also have the option, because as a lot of times people call 911, they don't want to be identified because they may be in a neighborhood where retaliation may occur. So we do allow our citizens to call in anonymously. And in calling anonymously, you can, when you're speaking with the operator, you can let them know that you wish to be anonymous. We'll put that in. Oh, actually, we have a video. So we can just play the video instead of me explaining it.
Okay, so just to kind of cover a little bit more information, I'm sorry, there we go. So I know that there's been an issue lately with, I know it's great, and I do it too, where we have these neighborhood apps, or we have the Nextdoor app, or I believe that's the one that's also correlated like with other type of alarm companies or alarm applications, where we tend to report. And a lot of times I see it even with my neighborhood, where I see people reporting, oh, there was a shots fired. Did anybody else hear, maybe gunshots? Oh, yes, I heard it too. And I'm questioning myself, are you calling 911 for this? Because this is really important. We want to make sure, as much as we want to stay away from getting all these calls that might be, minimum calls. We don't want you calling our 911 line for, let's say, a party call. But we definitely want you to report emergencies as well, and not stay away from reporting them to 911. Instead of going on the neighborhood app or the Nextdoor app and reporting this type of crimes, please give 911 a call and let us know. You might think, believe it or not, we've had incidents such as a shooting sometimes that it's happened, where it's been bad, where we had several people injured. And even though it's been in a main cross streets, we've only gotten one particular call. Nobody else has called. And I'm sure that multiple people heard it. They just don't call us. But you definitely see the neighborhood app with 30, 40 comments going off. So please call 911. The PSA that we're going to play, it's going to explain how important it is for you to call 911, and you have the right to remain anonymous, regardless of your immigration status or regardless to what language you speak. So let me go ahead and try to play this for you guys and see if we could go from there. Give me a second.
Today, we will talk about how you can dial 911 anonymously and how your immigration status does not matter. I'm Captain Alex Vargas, Commanding Officer of LAPD's Communications Division. Today, we want to talk about the procedures we have in place for you to remain anonymous when you dial 911. We also want to talk about how your immigration status does not matter when you dial 911. For more details, I'll hand that over to 911 Operator Aguilera.
My name is Jacqueline Aguilera, and I'm a 911 operator for the Los Angeles Police Department. Welcome to Communications Division. This is where we take your 911 calls. When you call 911, if there's another language you speak that you feel more comfortable in, you could always ask the 911 operator, and they will get someone to assist you in the language of your choice.
LA City 911.
Sí, ¿habla español?
Un momento, no cuelgue.
Ciudad de Los Ángeles 911. Every time you're reporting a crime, typically a 911 operator will ask you for your name and phone number. You have that option of leaving it behind, but as well, you could also ask for an officer just to contact you by phone only. The other option you also have is to remain anonymous, and that's really important. Regardless if you're anonymous or not, we will get the police out to you. You can even leave your phone number without a name. So if an officer needs additional information, they could reach out to you.
Any LAPD unit possible 459 suspect there now. Hazard Jennifer Tola. Suspect female Hispanic, 50 to 190 pounds, light brown hooded sweater, black shirt, blue jeans, black boots. Flashing on black bicycle. Suspect was walking north on Henderson, casing and breaking into vehicles. He's currently in front of a black sedan. Code 20137, RV 418.
We want to assure you that your safety is the most important thing to us. There's a misconception that we work with the immigration office. Your immigration status is not important to us. We're here for the community and your well-being. Thank you for joining us, and remember that your safety is the most important thing to us.
No matter what language you speak, what your immigration status is, or whether you wish to remain anonymous, we're here to help. Thank you.
We want to make sure that you guys understand that when you call 911, yes, your phone number comes up and it's information that we have. However, you always have the right to request to remain anonymous. So if you don't want to disclose your name, because maybe you don't want an officer knocking at your front door due to, let's say you don't want the neighbors to find out that you're the one that called. Please just let the operator know. We'll make a notation. You don't even have to disclose your name. You want to say just mail, refuse. We indicate that on the call. And that way our officers read those comments and they're aware that they're not going to knock on your door. You also have the right to just leave your phone number if you want some type of follow-up. And you can let our operators know as well. I want to just not give my name, but I want to leave my phone number and you could call me for further. That's really important in terms of bigger emergencies. Sometimes we need further information. Well, where's the suspect now? By the time the officers respond to the call 3-4 minutes later, sometimes the suspect, has legs. So he's moved maybe 2-3 blocks further down. And we want to call you back and get further information. We can't do that if you don't leave a number behind. So really important, just leave your phone number behind. You could say, I don't want anybody knocking my front door, but here's my phone number. Or if you do want to meet with an officer, because maybe this is a nuisance that's going on. Maybe your neighbor keeps having parties every single weekend and you're tired of it and you want to know if the officers are responding. Well, I didn't see the officer respond. You have the right to meet with an officer. That's what they're here for. So you let us know, it doesn't matter if it's a loud party call or if it's a domestic violence call, or whatever it is, you let the operator know that you want the officer to meet with you. We make a notation on the call and the officer will give you a call upon arrival to let you know that they're there and they're available to meet. So those are different options we want to make sure that you guys are aware of. Please don't ever shy away from calling 911 or refrain from it. And then definitely if you want the officer to follow up with you, that's what we're here for as well. Text to 911 is another part that we had covered as well. And this we started this in 2017. And a lot of people are not aware of this. The LAPD was one of the first police departments that started working with this. On average, we get about 27 to 30 text messages, which is not a lot. You could only text 911 for emergencies only. It's only available in English right now. We do not receive any pictures. We don't receive any type of emojis. So we can't send us a little sad face and let us know that there's a loud party. If you do report any type of non-emergency, we are gonna just let you know to call our non-emergency number. But if it is an emergency because you can't speak, some situations that we had, for example, has been unfortunately like a home invasion. Home invasion, maybe you don't feel comfortable speaking on the phone. You want to text us. I think an incident that we had with somebody on a public bus, the person next to her had a weapon. He wasn't threatening anybody, but she could see that he had a handgun next to her. So she wanted to report that. That's definitely nothing that you're going to call us and be like, hey, the guy next to me has a gun, right? We can't do that. So she texted. That was a perfect, way that it worked out. So we always say, call when you can, text when you can't. And that's for emergencies only. Definitely very good for the little ones. We always say for our kids, if they can't call 911, sometimes they might find it a little bit easier to text, and we assist them, and we'll ask you if you could call or not, and we'll direct you from there. We have live operators at all times for the text to 911 option. For filing police report online too, there's multiple things that are non-emergency now that you could report, and we always want to encourage people to monitor lapdonline.org to file a police report. It's an easy way for you to file things such as hate crimes in terms of, harassing phone calls, traffic accidents that don't involve any type of injuries. There's multiple things that you can report online that not necessarily have to be on hold calling us. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to make sure that I hear from you guys. You guys have more questions for us? Brandy and I are here more than happy to answer anything that you guys might have.
Is there a difference between calling you from my cell phone versus calling you from a landline? So if I'm in an office building, should I go to a phone on a desk versus using a cell phone? Do you see it differently?
Yes, very differently. There's nothing better than a landline. I always tell everybody, keep your landline, even if you don't use it, just have it plugged in, because that's the only thing that's going to give us an exact location. And that's if you don't have an actual internet-based landline as well. Because when it's internet-based, it might be different. For example, a corporate office, if they have an internet-based landline from an office phone, maybe you're based downtown, but if your corporate office is based, I don't know, somewhere in the Valley area, the call, the address that pops up for us might be the address in the Valley, because that's the headquarters. However, your regular landline, your old school landline that you just plug in with the little curly thing, that's the best thing ever. It pops us, it gives us the exact address, apartment number. It's beautiful. It's great for an emergency, medical emergency. That's the best thing for us. We're taught to pretty much send a call for lights and sirens if somebody calls from those lines and requests us help, because it's an exact location. When you call from a wireless phone, we get something that we call it a phase 2. It's based off of a triangular local satellite tower. The tower, and your location could be anywhere between 3 to 6 feet to sometimes even 1,000 feet, depending what type of connection you're using. It does retransmit for us, and it's updating your location. But unfortunately, sometimes you might call and disconnect the line. It doesn't give us an exact location. Depending upon the nature of the call, sometimes we still send to the phase 2 location, but we have to let the officers know she might have called from this area and she's somewhere within 300 feet of that, which is unfortunately not the best location. So very important, every time you call 911, stay on the line, do not disconnect when an operator tells you to. Even if you can't speak, I've had calls where I told people, place that phone in your pocket, just so I could at least get retransmitting your call, your location the best possible. And we could try to get a better location as best as possible, especially when you go out hiking or anything like we had lost hikers. Yeah, you want to go ahead and keep that line, that cell phone line open.
Okay.
If I could just add too for the cell phones for you, Christy. Also, when you're near the freeway, you can either get CHP or you can get us, whatever bordering agency it is. So also keep that in mind when you're calling for help from 911. So you may get transferred to the proper agency. There may be an additional transfer. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time on a Tuesday night.
We're 24 hours, right?
Yeah,
We're here.
that's all I've known for the 17 years.
24 hours.
Rotation,
Yeah,
that's it. That's all it is.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.